Hey guys, what's going on? This is Ed from VinylAlbumCovers.com and welcome to episode 43 of Slept On. You know what we do with Slept On. We talk about songs that you might have missed, songs that kind of got looked over. Maybe they were on albums with much bigger hits. Maybe the album got overlooked. Heck, maybe the artist got overlooked. In this instance, we're just talking about a song that got a little overlooked. I was actually toying with a couple of songs here to do for this particular episode, a couple of Chicago songs, but this is the one we're going with because only because it has the more interesting story. So in order to get into this, we'll talk just a little bit about how Chicago got to this point. I know it's a little strange that I'm covering Chicago because this is up until this point, this has basically been all R&B, but hold on, this isn't please hold on. See what I did there? This is an R&B song, so trust me. So at any rate, by this point, they have achieved a level of success that they honestly didn't think they'd see again. It was only a few short years prior to this. They began their career on Columbia Records, Columbia CBS. They were signed by Clive Davis, signed in 1968, and released Chicago Transit Authority, and a string of hit albums that were huge business on the pop charts, and they were a big deal to say the least. And then their guitarist, Terry Kath, died because of a silly accident, really. And then the band kind of was rudderless, and they didn't know what to do with themselves. But they were kind of already heading down what could be called a softer path. By the time Chicago 10 showed up, because that's when they released If You Leave Me Now, which was a Peter Cetera ballad, very soft. Nice song, but very soft and very, very much unlike the edgier things that they were that they were making their stock and trade. And from that point forward, because the song was such a huge hit, that's kind of what radio wanted from them. But then after Terry Kath died, things really kind of went off the rails. They took a shot at disco with Street Player and a couple of other things, and nobody was all that interested. And then they released Chicago 14, which was just a complete and total bomb. Nothing came off of it. Thunder and Lightning was kind of sort of a hit, I think, but it didn't really do anything. The record was kind of a bomb, and Columbia thought they were seeing the writing on the wall, and they dropped them. But they had, before that, their manager at the time, Jeff Wald, had gone in and gotten them this exorbitant deal to re-sign with Columbia prior to the recording of 14. And anyway, 14 came out, and like I said, it bombed, and Columbia couldn't get them off the label fast enough, and they realized that they had signed a bad deal themselves, and Chicago itself was none too comfortable with that deal either, but they bought Chicago out of the deal and dropped them off by the side of the road. So they didn't have a deal. So they went into the studio to record Chicago 16 without a deal, and they hired a producer who'd actually been considered for Chicago 14. Perhaps you know him. His name is David Foster. But they hired him for Chicago 16, and they went in and recorded the record, and they replaced Jeff Wald with Howard Kaufman and Irving Azoff of Frontline Management. Irving Azoff had a record label called Full Moon, and they were off and running. They made that record, and it turned into a huge success. Hard to Say I'm Sorry was a huge hit. Love Me Tomorrow was a sort of hit too. It's a top 30 hit. And they were off and running. They also released What You're Missing from that album, and that didn't work at all. That peaked at number 81, I believe. It didn't do anything. It's a good song, it just didn't do anything. And it was up-tempo, and they didn't want that from Chicago. Hard to Say I'm Sorry, and If You Leave Me Now kind of turned them into ballad stars, and that's all radio wanted. So they tried to release an up-tempo thing, and they didn't want it. So anyway, of course this is working. So repeat the formula. Bring in David Foster again, make another record. And that's exactly what they did. Into the studio they went, and out came Chicago 17. Now, on both of these records, it should also be noted that David Foster is not only the producer, but he was playing keys, just about all of the keys himself, just about all the bass on a Moog bass. That was all him. And then also co-writing a lot of the songs too, because he'd come in when they were writing songs for Chicago 16 and basically made them throw all the songs away. None of them were good enough. And he just kind of got with all the writers and co-wrote songs with them in order to get songs that were good enough for the record. And for Chicago 17, they didn't buy any songs, but David collaborated on it. No, that's not true. They did buy one. Hard Habit to Break was bought. That was Steve Kipner and John Parker. But everything else was written within the confines of the band. And I think David Foster collaborated on just about everything too. There's only a couple that he did. Remember the Feeling, he didn't. And Prima Donna was actually written for Two of a Kind by Peter Cetera and Mark Goldenberg. So he didn't collaborate on that one. But I think everything else he did, everything else that I'm thinking of, he did. That's not true. We Can Stop the Hurtin'. He didn't collaborate on that one either. Anyway, but there is this particular song. This is one of his co-writes. But this song actually began as a Lionel Richie song. Here's where the R&B of it comes in. So Lionel Richie was getting songs together for his album Can't Slow Down, which is the one with All Night Long on it, if you're curious, and Hello. And it was a huge, huge multi-platinum smash of an album that hit the pop charts and the R&B charts equally hard. And it's a great album. Great, great, great album. But he was kind of trying to come up with songs, and one of the songs that he wrote was a song called Tell Me. And you can actually find the demo for this on YouTube. It was released on the expanded edition of Can't Slow Down, which was released many, many years ago. And the song is there. All the music is there. The lyric is not there. There is no lyric. He's just kind of mumbling nonsense words just to kind of get the feel for the melody and kind of create, vowel and consonant shapes and so on and so forth, which is fairly typical when people write songs. They do that. But it's without a lyric. But it's basically complete. So anyway, again, David Foster is looking for songs for Chicago 17. And he goes to Lionel and asks for Tell Me, because it was never used. So, can we use it? Lionel says, of course, take it, here you go. So they go ahead and use the tune. David writes a little more on it. He adds some more, he adds like a what would turn it out to be a chorus for it. And then Bill Champlin, who's in the band, who also came as a result of their deal with Warner. They needed somebody to replace Terry Kath, at least vocally. Bill Champlin is nowhere near the guitar player Terry Kath was, but Terry Kath is nowhere near the singer that Bill Champlin is, so there's that. Your mileage may vary on that second point. But at any rate, Bill is a lyricist. He can do both, but, he's a Grammy Award-winning lyricist. He wrote the lyric for Turn Your Love Around, and then again for After the Love Is Gone, not in that order. So he's won Grammys off of his lyrics, so he knows what he's doing. So he wrote a lyric to Tell Me, and the song became this. So what we're going to do now is take a listen to the song, and then we'll kind of talk about it, because I think for those of you who've heard it, you're going to hear something different about this version of it. So let's go ahead and take a listen. This is Please Hold On by Chicago.
Do you love me?
Yeah, there's that. It's a great song. My gosh. And I kept my mouth shut again. That's the second consecutive video that I have kept my mouth shut while the song is played. I thought it was important on that one because, as you noticed from the look on my face, there's a bit of a different thing there. And this is where the story gets interesting. So they go to finish off the record and they turn it in. And the Warner execs get a listen to Please Hold On. And they're like, wait a minute. This is a single, except for one small problem. This does not have a traditional form. If you noticed, the song begins with a verse, of course, like all songs do. Well, okay, not all songs do, but most of them do. It's kind of a conventional thing. But then it goes to, I guess, what we might call a bridge. Hold on, stay with me. That part. And that was not, it's great. They didn't dislike it, but it's not a traditional form. This thing needs a chorus. And so, they sent back word to Foster, like, no, we need a chorus for this. We need a traditional verse, chorus, we need a traditional form here. And so they took that, please hold on. They took that part and copied it and copied it and put it where that was in order to make a traditional form. And then they turned that back in. And then Warner Brothers was happy, and that's how they released it. That's what showed up on the analog forms of the album back in 1984. We ended up with the LP and the cassette with that on it. And in fact, they were thinking about releasing that song as a single after Along Comes a Woman. It was supposed to be the next single, but they just decided to pull the plug on it because the record was already selling like crazy. It sold very, very well. So they just decided there was no need to go there. So the song was not made a single. Some years later, CDs began to really take a hold. And so they pressed a CD up of this album. And in the process of doing it, they made a little bit of a mistake. They released this original version of the song instead of the cut up version that ended up on the analog versions of the album. And this is how I first heard the song, because I didn't have, quite unlike most people, I didn't have the LP or the cassette of this album. I didn't get the cassette until years later, and I don't have the cassette anymore because I don't have cassettes anymore, really. I only have a few of them left. But I got the CD of this, the original first CD that Warner Brothers put out. I think this was like 1987, I believe, when it came out, I believe. And that had this version that you just heard on it, which is referred to as the digital version. And it's interesting because if you go to Apple Music and Spotify, you will not find this version. I checked it ahead of time. Like, I went to Apple Music and I tried to get this version and couldn't do it. It only surfaced on the international versions of like the album packs that went out, the album series. But it's not out digitally. It's not out on the streamers. Even to try to find something to listen to on YouTube, you can find it, but it's not even easy to find there. I managed to find one just because I'll listen to YouTube clips just for these videos, but I will put in like my CD versions, my really nice versions, into the video itself, so that's what you heard. But I was listening to a YouTube version of it, and that wasn't easy to find. So it's very interesting that the version that's out there currently in digital form is the cut up version, but this was the version that we got when we got the first CDs. Even the remasters, like the Rhino remasters, both of them feature the analog version, not the digital one. Isn't that interesting? So that's kind of what made the story interesting. It's what made me lean toward covering this tune, on top of the fact that it's great. And it's the only thing that that Lionel Richie ever collaborated with them on. It was basically a finished tune with music and melody, and Bill supplied lyric, and David added that "Please Hold On" section, which is used twice on the song. Otherwise, it's basically just a Lionel Richie Bill Champlin collaboration. That's really what it ended up being. But there are two different versions, and this digital version that you just heard, you won't hear anywhere else. It's not possible to find it unless you live in another country. So there's that. So a very interesting story, and I wanted to share it with you. But as always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you to all the subscribers. I appreciate that too, for sure. Don't forget to check out Patreon if you haven't done so yet. Go take a look at my digital tip jar. These videos cost, so I would appreciate any help that you can offer. And I have perks too. I have stuff there. You can join me on a video, give me an idea, that sort of thing. Watch the videos before anybody else does, because these videos get done before you get them. So there's all kinds of interesting stuff there. So the link is in the description box for all this stuff, for the Patreon channel. You can find it there. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you're not a subscriber, please do so. It does help. It helps quite a bit. So please, 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 if you haven't yet. But keep on the lookout. I have more videos coming. I do have another hot garbage on the way. I've just been a little bit slow with it. Please forgive me. Because I keep getting inspired by the good stuff, so I want to bring you good stuff. But anyway, let's call this one a video. So again, thank you very much for watching. I am honored, and I truly appreciate it whenever anybody watches these things. And until I bring you another one, keep listening to great music.
Maybe just like one evening or something, but if it's a crazy drive for people, then I mean, like, is it really gonna be worth it then? Like, I mean,
well, 45 minutes ain't crazy. I don't think.
No.
The middle part goes into a segment called Dig Deeper. That contains an outline with read scriptures, questions, artwork, and videos to consider. And the last part brings it all home, summarizes and reviews the key points from the lesson, and it allows you to set goals and even explore additional articles and videos regarding each subject.
This is definitely nice. It's not like the vacation Bible school that I attended. Sounds good.
Yeah, definitely not that. How about we talk more about setting up a time where you and I can go over lesson 1 after work?
I think that sounds all right.
Great. All right, listen, my break's up, so we'll talk more after work, okay?